Good evening, everybody. My name is Maria Batiola, and I chair the Beacon Hill Council, and I want to welcome you. It's the first day of July, and some of us are roasting, so I hope you're all doing well. Why don't we go around the room to say hello? And an icebreaker is, what do you do when it's really hot? Okay, so what do I do when it's really hot? As a kid, I learned that I could drink hot drinks and it'll be okay. Surprised me, but that's what goes on. Okay, I'm gonna punt it over to my left, Jerry, and then if you could keep sending popcorning it, that would be great.
Jerry Chambers. I live on South Beacon Hill and I try and drink a lot of cold beverages and sit in the shade. I have actually wonderful shade trees at my house and it's very comfortable. And I will hand this over to Scott, who's the other direction from me. Yeah.
My name's Scott. When it's hot, I go to my basement because it's not so hot in the basement. I will pass it to Simon.
Hi, I'm Simon Kanapis. I'm using my sister's setup right now because it's in the basement and it's too hot upstairs. So that's what I'm doing for the heat. I will pass it to Rita.
Oh, thanks, Simon or Soren. I don't know what I do. I try to drink cold water, cold beverages. I have a fan on. I don't have AC. I try to spend a little bit of time in air conditioning if I can. But I tend to overdo it in the heat and just kind of wilt. Yesterday I picked raspberries in the sun. I just got so excited that I kind of overheated. But anyway.
You want to send it over, Rita?
Oh, whoops, I forgot. Mergitu? Is that how you pronounce?
Yes, you said it right.
Oh,
My name is Mergitu. I work for the Seattle Community Police Commission. I go to different neighborhoods to listen to community members, what's their concern. I think I'll drink a lot of ice water or anything with the ice. Thank you. Pass it to the Beacon Hill Council.
Amy.
Yes, sorry, Amy.
Hi, my name is Amy Kamanishi, and what I do when it's cool is take a cold shower. So I would say Joseph.
Yeah, hi, I'm Joseph Reese. When it's hot, I guess well, now I have AC, so that's nice. But before, yeah, just cold drinks and just shorts and a tank top. That's pretty much all I would do, and just sit in the sweat, I'd guess sometimes. And then is that everybody?
Not me.
Oh yeah, please.
Hi, I'm Julie, and I live up near Cleveland High School. And what I do is try to find a shade tree, which is, and to spend time going on walks where there's shady trees, which is probably going to be an issue that comes up when we talk about the zoning issues. And I'm not sure who hasn't spoken yet.
AJ, would you like to go next, please? How about Ellen?
Hi, this is Ellen, and I've been spending my time today down in the basement. So that's the one advantage of having an older house for sure. And I'll have to let you also know who to pass it along to. So I'm sorry, I don't know that.
No problem. Kalia? Kalia, can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just driving. But
Oh no.
yeah, I just kind of get outside, make it a point to get outside and go on a walk during the workday. So
Right.
yeah, you might have to punch it for me. I can't see the screen.
Sure. We have two more folks. Amelia.
Hi, Amelia. When it's this hot, I like to make like a nice like cinnamon tea or lemonade to help me cool down, and also like to jump in the water. And I don't know who's last. Maria,
AJ.
if you can help. Thank you. Oh yeah, AJ hasn't responded, correct.
Yeah.
AJ.
AJ, can you hear us? Oh, AJ's on. Let's see. Hi, AJ McClure from the Port of Seattle. My microphone doesn't seem to be working. I can hear you. Well, welcome, AJ. So today we have a kind of a short meeting because we're working over on the board. As you know, last May we elected 2 new members on. So we're going through a lot of onboarding and talking through, are the things we're doing going to work for everybody? So if you don't mind, I'm going to give you some briefing. Is that okay with everybody?
Sure.
Give me a nod and I'll do it. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, can you guys see this? There's only 4 slides. Can you see it?
We can see it, yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So we want to give you an update on the activities we've been doing. So as everybody knows, the Seattle Comp Plan is going through. And as a matter of fact, they had to adopt an interim Seattle Comprehensive Plan, which gets voted on every 10 years, because the discussions are a little bit prolonged. There were some parts of the plan that were appealed. So they're waiting to finish that up. And they had to adopt an interim plan by July, because if they don't, they get a financial penalty from the state. It's part of Growth Management Act. So the King County Council, they call it a select committee wherein all the council members participate. It's chaired by Joy Hollingsworth, and the vice chair is Mark Solomon, who used to be on our council. And they had a public meeting last Monday. So I wanted to share with you guys what we have been advocating for. So this shouldn't be new. For tree retention recommendations, the old comp plan has a 30% tree canopy goal. We didn't see that in the proposed comp plan, so we're still pushing for that. And then we want that goal to apply throughout Seattle, because there are also vulnerable communities throughout Seattle. You've got the elders, the youth, you have areas that don't have as much trees, and so on and so forth. And we wanted them to focus on implementing a policy from the Office of Sustainability and OSCP, the comprehensive plan folks, the planning folks, to have a policy that says it's both housing and trees. Because it seems that when the advocacy for trees is happening, that there is sort of like a counter narrative that says, you know, those folks are not supporting housing. I think what we're saying in Beacon Hill, we need both. We don't have as many trees, and we also need that housing. And as far as what we call anti-displacement housing policy recommendations, we want more housing created for folks making 30 to 60% of the average median income. And that means prioritizing and accelerating housing levy investments for Beacon Hill for low income. I'm sorry, I had item 2 here that looks like it got dropped in my slides, which is that we also want to help develop housing by building additional attached units, or, excuse me, additional housing units within the original house that one might have, or what are called DDUs, DADUs, which are detached units. And that policy recommendation is about asking to waive the very expensive permitting fee for 60 to 70,000, and to defer that, to delay paying it at the point of sale when the property is going to get sold or the dadu is going to get sold. So I'm just going to pause and stop the sharing and see if there's questions from folks. Any questions or curiosity? So we're still on the same track. Yes, go ahead, please.
I appreciate that the recommendation is for housing plus trees, but that in order to make that happen, very specific guidelines have to be set regarding how much hardscape is allowed on a property. And my understanding is that the tree side of things is not really going to be protected because there's so little space is set aside for non-concrete, no asphalt, but green space. And I haven't seen that. That's what the tree people have been advocating, and haven't seen any place where that's being followed through with. And I think people are recommending stacked housing, and that's been the predominant plea from people at the community meetings, at least the ones that I've gone to. And I haven't heard anything about what's going to allow the barriers to stacked housing to be removed. Do you have insight on that?
Well, the only insight I have is a lot of these things are not happening yet because we're still in that phase wherein the council is getting input on what they're going to put in the comp plan. And then once that comp plan passes, we don't know if it's going to be appealed. So sometimes sections are put on a pause with the appeal, and then it gets implemented. So there is a lot of activity going around, particularly with our old partners, TreePack, Trees Connect Seattle, when they really are trying to advocate for a balanced approach, in terms of having enough space so that the housing can be maximized at the same time that there's room for the trees to be able to continue and grow. There's also a strong move, and I'm trying to figure out when that might pop about modifying the tree protection ordinance. So those are the things that I'm hearing that I wanted to share. And we also have 3 advocates. So Jerry, do you have any additional information you want to add to that?
I know the Tree Equity Network has been trying to lobby also for changes in the setbacks also to preserve some of that. So they've been working on that too. And that's a group that includes people from TreePack and also Birds Connect Seattle. And they seem pretty with it, actually. I know they've sent a letter.
From what I recall, there's like 120 different groups that have signed on to that. So if you want, you can go online and look at, it's hosted by Seattle Parks Foundation.
Yeah.
And they call it Tree Equity Network. Sometimes you'll just see TEN. Scott, you got a question?
You mentioned the the stacked housing in your comments, and I just wanted to also point you to Complete Communities Coalition. I'll link the URL to their website in the chat. They were at the public comment period last week for the comp plan at City Council. And they were handing out signs and flyers and stuff, and kind of like making the case that the style of housing is more compatible with tree retention because as compared to townhomes, it sort of monopolizes the entire block because of the parking situation, whereas the stacked flats are just kind of like a self-contained building. I don't know too much about it personally, but based on their website, I didn't see as much about the tree side of it. But if you wanted to like look more into those recommendations, that does seem to be the organization that is the most behind that solution that you mentioned.
I guess I get confused because there've been some great advocates speaking up. But the article I read in Seattle Times this week talks about the headlines was well, it referred to NIMBYs, which I always sort of take umbrage at, but they talked about townhouses being most likely the thing that will be happening. If anything happens, it'll be, in terms of change, will be promoting more townhouses. But the picture they showed was an area where there's the setback is small, and you need roots. You need space for roots for shade trees. So I guess my experience with Seattle government sometimes is there's a lot of good things being said, and then when action happens, it happens suddenly and it's a done deal. A case in point would be the tree protection guidelines that got set up a couple years ago, very strict about what homeowners could and couldn't do, very, very specific and kind of wide open about what developers could do. And they said they were going to change that rule. They never did. So I'm kind of waiting for.
My understanding is that the like difference is that the stacked flats are seen as like commercial buildings, whereas the townhomes are seen as residential buildings. Even if you have like 4 units stacked versus 4 units as townhomes on a given plot, it like has to do with like whether the entryway to your home is like from the inside of the building versus outside. There's all these kind of like technicalities to it that make it such that the townhomes, for one reason or another, tax wise, are like better for the developer, which is why, like, from a profit motivated perspective, that tends to be what gets built as opposed to a stacked flat.
So I think this is a very important point wherein there'll be a broad variety of types of housing that's going to be out. It's a matter of what the private developers are going to do and what we want public money to help us with in terms of housing. So that's sort of just one of those realities. There's a new development at the state level, which is basically now the rule that basically says throughout Washington State, any piece of property, one can build 4 units within it. So there's some reconciliation and thinking about that and how that fits in with what Seattle's trying to do. Jerry?
The other thing I would mention about the stack flats is that they're actually better for mobility impaired people or seniors, rather than the townhomes that have a lot of stairs, which are very difficult for an aging population. And we've already made parking very difficult for a lot of people, which is changing things. So that's also another big point, I think, for the stack flats.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the townhouses are also not considered family friendly to go for small children, because they could fall basically. So you've got that and the elders. But again, it goes back to what is allowable and what private developers and public development is going to do. So our focus really is trying to nudge the money, because the housing levy was passed last year, and 70% of that money is supposed to go to 30 to 60% average median income folks so they can stay in place. And a good chunk of that money is also dedicated to repairing current low-income housing. So if I may, I'm going to keep moving us. It's 6:54 and this is a short meeting. We're going to go until 7:45. Is that okay, everybody? Okay. All right. So let me share the next piece I want to talk about is our air and noise pollution work that we're doing for the summer. Can you guys see this? Can you see the slide?
Yep.
Okay. So every 5 years, the King County Strategic Climate Action Plan is updated. And the ultimate goal is by 2050, we're going to be what is called carbon neutral. And so Beacon Hill, I have a small group that we've organized to work on this, which is basically to see if we can talk to our King County Council members and ask them to amend the 2025 King County Strategic Climate Action Plan and require our King County executive to submit 3 work plans. The first is to implement recommendations from the 2020 Joint Aviation Technical and Community Task Force. What that task force did is they did 3 things. They recommended a way of measuring aviation to reflect a scientific thing called the radiative effect. So the aviation emission is now measured at 15% of all greenhouse gas emissions. And then second is that they took a look at different ways of reducing greenhouse gases. So alternative technology like hydrogen, like electric, reduced greenhouse gas in the fuel called SAF, Sustainable Aircraft Fuel. And there's quite a number of recommendations in this report. The report is mentioned in the Strategic Climate Action Plan, but there's not really a work plan that says this is what we're going to do to make it happen. The second work plan that we want our council members to require the King County Executive to create is an implementation work plan that will implement the recommendations from the 2020 health study. This was required by House Bill law that was passed. The study is conducted by King County Public Health, and it identifies what are the health impacts. So respiratory, cardio, some mental health. And so they've identified those, and they also identified that the area that is most impacted has an overrepresentation of people of color. So that makes it an equity issue. And they also identified that if you live close to the airport within 1 mile, your life is shortened by 5 years. If you're within 1 to 5 miles, it's shortened by, I believe, 3.7. And if you're within 10 miles, it's shortened by 1 year. So Beacon Hill, we are located under flight paths of airlines that utilize one of those flight paths, and they fly in and out of SeaTac Airport. So our data, it comes from a Duwamish River Community Coalition study, the DRCC, Duwamish River, it used to be Cleanup Coalition, and their study shows that 98108, which crosses from Georgetown, and it crosses over Beacon Hill, and we have a lot of that population. It shows the lifespan is shortened by 8 years. So we want that health study recommendations within it to have a work plan. And the third one really is about the tree canopy. So for many of you, you know that trees basically are healthy, but a very important function they have with climate is they absorb carbon. It's called carbon sequestration, wherein the tree will hold on to the carbon as it absorbs it, because it absorbs carbon and then puts out oxygen. And also it's a buffer for the air and noise pollution. So we're recommending that there's a community engagement with different stakeholders. So community, scientists, the airports, the technical folks come together to do these plans and also set a tree canopy goal. There is a Department of Natural Resources forestry plan, but we have not seen in the 2025 King County Strategic Climate Action Plan goal for tree canopy, and then the plan for how do you preserve trees, how do you mitigate the lost trees, the ones that have been cut down, and how do you plan for growth? So our partners so far in this work is, of course, us, Beacon Hill Council, Duwamish River Cleanup Coalition. So the two of us focus on the health. Climate Solutions is focusing on the sections of the report about reducing aviation greenhouse gas. And Defenders of Highline Forest, these are the guys who worked really hard to preserve a park that had a lot of trees that would have been cut down to be converted to a parking lot. So they renamed themselves Defenders of Highline Forest, which is a larger traditional indigenous forest overlay. As you know, there's a lot of a lot of areas have been cityfied, and trees connect Seattle. So the Strategic Climate Action Plan was sent from the King County Executive June 11. So we're waiting to see when the public comment period is going to be and what kind of a schedule they have to adopt the plan. And so we're monitoring that. Deepa Sirajavan with Climate Solutions is keeping an eye on that schedule. And so kind of keep an eye out because we're going to be asking you guys to sign support and also see if you can testify when the time comes. So I'm just going to pause and I'm going to take this down and see if there's questions from the group. So that's part of our continuing work. Jerry?
I'm sorry, did you say it was sent to the King County Executive on June 8th?
11th.
11th?
Yeah, the 2025 King County Strategic Climate Action Plan.
Okay, it was sent to the executive on June 11th. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to give you some links to the items I've referred to. So you have that for the notes. So not hardly any questions on here. So I'm just going to keep moving. Okay, everybody. This is long time work that we've been working on since 2016. Okay. So I have to apologize for this next one. Hold on, please. Let me share it with you. And so the next one is there's a lot of candidates forum that's happening, and I just want to apologize to all of you. I was just sharing earlier that I was getting duplicate emails on my phone, and I thought, oh, I'll clean my phone, not realizing it eliminated a bunch of emails, and so I don't have the dates. But the primary election is August 5, and there are 3 Climate Solutions, King County International Airport Community Coalition, which is our sister aviation advocates around the King County Airport. And they're going to do their own for District 2, which covers us. And then Stack for Justice, which we're a part of. They're also going to do a candidate forum. So because I've lost my emails, I don't have the dates for you, but what I'm going to do is finish this slide and then we'll mail it to you guys, okay? And we'll put it on social media. Traditionally, we also have been invited to join either as a sponsor or table at these. And I wanted to find out, the Climate Solutions is going to be at El Centro de la Raza Centilla. The King County International Airport is going to be at the Filipino community of Seattle. And the Stack for Justice, I'm looking at siting it closer to the airport cities. So I just want to check in with you guys about supporting these, who's sponsoring these, as well as being able to table at them. So I'm going to take this down to see if there's any question. Oh, somebody's getting warm. If there's any questions or, support for that. Scott?
I went to a candidate forum hosted by Working Families Party in Columbia City for the replacement for Mark Solomon in this upcoming election. They're also doing a virtual one for mayoral candidates, I think on the 13th or the 14th.
So Scott, if you can send that over too, I can add it to this list. So when we get it out, it'll have time and place also.
Sure.
So folks, are you open to us tabling and co-sponsoring these forums? A lot of it is around generally three things. One is District 2, because we have, as Scott had said, we have elections happening for District 2, District 8, which is the citywide, of course, the mayoral race. And we have uncontested Port Commission races. So the current president, Toshiko Hasegawa, is running, as well as Ryan. AJ, help me out. I just had a brain blip. Anyway, both candidates are running without any opposition to them. Okay, do we BHC an opportunity to submit question to candidates? I think for the Stack for Justice, because we're part of the coalition, they have a community committee that's doing that, but I don't see why we can't forward them a question that can either, and if it's something similar, I think they'll just roll it in, or if it's new and different, but they couldn't guarantee that they would give us that opportunity simply because they don't, they're trying to manage time. Some of these, it can't run too long.
What does it mean that they're asking for us? I think the word you said was co-sponsor.
A co-sponsor, basically, it also depends on the timing, if it's still available. We're pretty much, we're put on these things, there's no financial responsibility. They tend to put out, if there is co-sponsor, they'll put our logo, and most of them will allow us to table. So in other words, we get to do education and outreach for our issues.
And the table is like to talk to people who are attending the event, not to be a part of the actual
panel.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Gotcha. Yeah, the events I went to through Working Families Party, they didn't have anybody tabling in that kind of way, so I had assumed that it was more of an invite to be like one of the people asking the questions. But I do think it'd be a good opportunity to, just connect with other organizations.
Okay. Any other comments from community? Are you guys sleeping or eating? Because no one saw. Okay. I can't tell if you're in support of us participating or not. So, so the board, I mean, we're going to have our discussion later, so we'll figure that out. But I'm just looking around the room in terms of community. Okay, Amelia gave a thumbs up. All right, we'll do it. And then from the board, Scott, Jerry, and Kalia are in support. Oh, and Simon. Okay, I'm going to go and move us to the last item. It's about 7:09, and we're scheduled to end at 7:15. Okay, so everybody, just FYI, the Seattle Office of Arts and Culture has sent invitations to various organizations, including us, to see if we wanted to put on a celebration for next year. And it's the window when FIFA is going to be here from June to July. And basically what they're saying is to put a celebration and we can apply for funding up to $40,000. And they're looking at 1 or 2 projects for each district. So realizing that doing celebrations is not our wheelhouse. That's more of a wheelhouse of Beacon Arts. I checked in with Beacon Arts and with Betty Jean Williamson, and they've been longtime partners, organizational partners for us. And basically she said that they're going to be applying. And I mentioned to her that we're more than willing to support. And she said she wants us to be able to participate in what she's thinking of and dreaming of. Because as you know, she really tries to pull in different groups, to, be very inclusive of populations and so on. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that we were invited to apply for that. And where I'm leaning to, because of it's not our jam and we don't have that kind of capacity. And we also would have to get a fiscal sponsor to do anything like that, that I'm just saying to everybody, let's pass on the opportunity and just support our local neighbor, Beacon Arts. So looking for reactions. Are you okay with that? Okay, I have 1 heart. And oh, Joseph, thank you. And Scott and Jerry and Amelia. Okay, and June. All right. And Rita, thank you so much. So that's what we're going to do. And then let's just open the floor. We have about 4 minutes. Let's open the floor and see what kinds of announcements there might be from you guys. Big events, little events, what's happening in the local neighborhood for the good of the order. I know it's July 1st and it's hot.
I could report back briefly from the ICE training, the community response to ICE training. It went really well. It was very well attended. And it sounds like there's a lot of enthusiasm to do follow-up events, either to do the same sort of introductory event, and then also perhaps do like an ongoing series for people who would like to be part of a rapid response team, or just want to know more about what to do if we see ICE.
Simon, did they provide materials we can put on our website and that we can push out?
I will ask if the materials, there was like a 2-sided handout, and I will ask if that's something that I imagine it is. They're trying to get information out there.
That'll be great. Okay.
I waited too long to try to RSVP to that, and I saw that the like attendance list was full, and the only thing that I had in terms of like links to information about them was that like survey response. Do they have like an email list that I could sign up for, or anything like that I could be aware of when they're holding these follow-up meetings potentially?
At this point, that group isn't really the group that put it on. Pretty much the only thing that they've done is put on that event. So they're definitely, I think that the Beacon Hill Council email, as long as we're willing to continue publicizing those events, is probably one of the most formal places that it's being publicized at this point. But actually, they did at the training start gathering information of people who wanted to be on a list. So I think that what they had decided at that point was to have that open to people who had been to at least one meeting, just as far as like keeping it kind of contained so that it doesn't end up being in like the hands of ICE or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, so but I will absolutely bring it to our group.
Are you
Simon?
our contacts to that group?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Hey, Simon, it would be good for the others to hear what was covered in the training.
Sure. It was basically what to do if you see ICE. There is the Washington, it's WASIN, the Washington Immigrant Solidarity Network. They have a reporting number, and I will get it out right now. And so the first thing to do is to call them, unless it seems like acting in the moment. I get, you kind of have to judge the situation. But then they went through a few different scenarios about ways that ice shows up, and then also some different tactics that people have used to try and interrupt ice or to try and shelter people, like protect people so that ice gets disrupted. And two of the videos that they showed are videos that have been viral anyway, so probably folks have seen those. And they gave some legal information about kind of like know your rights training.
Okay, I think it'll be great when we get a little bit more information, maybe put together something that people can use, particularly if it's we're not dealing directly with those most impacted, but we can be what we call helping neighbors. Neighbors helping neighbors, kind of a positioning.
Yeah, if you could send photos of the flyer that they had as a handout, at least to like the directors, if not the council as a whole.
For sure.
And maybe just like some follow-up notes to the meeting as an email. I think that'd be pretty helpful.
Yeah, happily.
Jerry, I don't know if you noticed the Wazen Washington Alliance on Immigrant Washington. It's I should know Wazen by heart.
I know, me too. I'm spacing it. I think it's
Washington something network.
Immigrant Support Network. Yeah.
That's it. So anyway, Jerry, it's in the chat.
And one of the founders of that, I think she was one of the founders. Anyway, there's one of the people who was there has been involved with Wazen and is an attorney at NWERP and a law professor. And the other person was an attorney at the ACLU.
Great. Okay. All right, my friends, it's 7:17. Any last words from community? Okay, let's see you on camera so we can say, have a great evening. Hi, thank you, Rita.
Good meeting.